there, and welcome, and I am delighted to see you. And I did not see you coming. And here you are, 1,000. I'm told there's 1,000 or more of you here, and so welcome. I just want to tell you this little story about how this thing got started, and the first group start meeting and how that came to be. And I wish I could tell you that I thought it all out, made a business plan, we followed the business plan, and here we are. But that's not what happened. And so I just want to tell you that little story, and I hope you enjoy it. So back 9 years ago, in 2007, I was giving the Inconvenient Truth Talks, the Al Gore Inconvenient Truth Talks, and it was going pretty well. I was giving one a week. I was excited. I loved every one of them, but I had to chase every one of them down. I had to literally invite myself to service clubs and churches and schools, and but as I say, it was going pretty well. I was calling on enough of those organizations. Then, one day, I got a call out of the blue. It was an organization that I had not invited myself to. And it was the International Affairs Club of Rancho Bernardo. So you may not know Rancho Bernardo, not being from California, but it's a pretty big place, and I thought this is going to be an impressive group. So I was excited about it. So when I got there, it turned out to be the International Affairs Club in a retirement home in Rancho Bernardo. So 10 or 12 retirees had come downstairs to hear me. See what I had to say. I gave them the slideshow, and it included Michael Mann's hockey stick curve and all of that. Gave them the slideshow. It took about 30 minutes. And then I was complete. And so how about questions? Any questions? First question. An elderly lady on the back row against the wall, she said, "I can't read with the new light bulbs." What should I do? Then she said, could I use 2 of the new light bulbs, but just for reading? I said, I don't know. Then she wanted to know, very insistent lady, she wanted to know if it would be better to use 2 of the new kind of light bulbs or 1 of the old kind. And I said, well, I don't know. Well, I didn't do very well on the first question, so. Next question, a lady not next to her, but one over from her, again against the back wall. She said, well, what should we do? What should we do? And there I was kind of cornered. And I finally said, well, what's needed is the methodology of results where hundreds, I didn't see 1,000, hundreds of people organize themselves, get educated, lobby their members of Congress and the media in a relentless, unstoppable way, and yet friendly. "Why don't you do that?" she said. So she's pushing 90 years old, but she's kind of got it together. "Why don't you do that?" she said. And again, I was kind of trapped. I said, "Well, I haven't done that because nobody would come to a meeting like that." I look out at you and I said, and at that time I said, nobody would show up. And she said, "Well, I'll help you. I'll help you." So, there's these 10 retirees, elderly, distinguished people looking at me, and what was I going to do? And I said, "Okay, well, let's do it. Let's do it." Was there anything else to say? I don't know. And so the meeting was over, and Pam and I drove back to Coronado. It's about 45 minutes south to where we live. And I called back up to Rancho Bernardo to the library. It's right near the retirement home. And I rented a room. And I started inviting people to come. Well, now, again, Coronado is about a 45-minute drive south of Rancho Bernardo. And I'm talking to people, and I'm thinking, I'm telling them it's a 3-hour presentation. And so I'm thinking these people are not going to come. And maybe they are, maybe they're not, but they're not being real clear about it. And so let's see. So I was worried. And I called my new friend, my helper in the retirement home, to see how the inviting was going on her end. Well, guess what? No answer. And so a few days later, I called back, and no answer. No answer. So maybe on the 4th call, her husband answered the phone and said, her name was Lee, "Lee's arthritis has kicked up, and she's not going to help you." She's not going to help you. So it occurred to me to call it off, but I didn't know who was coming and not coming by that point, and I kept inviting. So on the morning of the talk, of the presentation, Pam and I got there early to set up the room, and we couldn't find it. We couldn't find it. We looked all over. The lady behind the counter didn't know where it was. And I thought, this is not ideal, is it? So it turned out that the room was not inside the library, but up an outside stairway and around to the back of the building on a second deck walkway, through a door on the left, down two hallways, and through a door on the right. And I thought, God, if anybody actually tries to come to this thing, if they get as far as the parking lot, they're not going to find this room. So there we were, and 28 people did show up. 28 people showed up. And with like 5 minutes to go, number 29 showed up. He probably lost somewhere. and so there we were. And I poured my heart out to them. I have a little music stand, and sometimes I get excited, and I thought, I'm going to fly over the music stand and land in somebody's lap. And so as I say, I knew about half of them. The other half, I don't know how they found out about it and who invited them. You know, I just didn't know. So let me just see where we are here. Well, at the end of the talk, you know, just like at the end, now my heart is in my throat. And it's time to ask the punchline question. It's like, how many of you want to do this thing with me? And I needed 4. I felt like to have a team, you have to have 4. Well, every last hand in the room went up. Every last hand in the room went up. You know? And I didn't see them coming either. Well, with 28 people, we divided into 3 groups. There was North County, Central San Diego. John was on the first Central San Diego group, and then the South Bay. I called Brent Blackwelder, then president of Friends of Earth, asked him if he'd be our guest speaker. He said yes. I was amazed that he would do that. He's kind of like the dean of Washington lobbyists. He'd stepped out of a board meeting and call us on his cell phone. And I had that morning prepared a script, and which I hoped was inspiring. And that's how CCL got started. Trapped by 2 elderly ladies in a rest home. 28 and then 29 volunteers who showed up on a Saturday morning not knowing what to expect or what they might be getting into. And they had found their way up the outside stairway and around to the back of the building and down 2 hallways and through a door on the right. And you keep showing up. And who are you? I see you as the world's best hope. Like, no kidding. You're the world's best hope. You're citizens in a democracy. You have access to your government. That's not true everywhere. You have done the work to organize yourselves and educate yourselves. And you are relentless and unstoppable. And so that's who you are for me, the world's best hope. Thank you, and I love you.